Golden State fan, tell the truth. Have you also caught yourself looking at this veteran earning more than $37 million per season and thinking, this isn't working anymore? With each irregular game, each night in which the salary weighs more than the impact on the court, the feeling is the same. This contract is holding back the future of the franchise. But what if I told you that precisely this gigantic problem could become the key that the Warriors so desperately need? Today we're going to go behind the scenes of the trade bomb involving the Mavericks, understand why this move can free up the squad, unlock space, change the rotation, and, most importantly, give back the hope of seeing a truly competitive Golden State again. Before we delve into this story, let's do the following. If you are one of those who suffers with every wrong decision made by the Warriors board, gets irritated by the confusing rotation and heavy contract holding the team back, then this channel is for you. Sign up now, because here we speak the language of fans who experience the franchise in detail every single day. Enjoy and leave a like because this shows YouTube that Warriors fans are still alive, still care, and want to see real change. Also activate the bell, because in the next videos we will dissect other possible changes, reconstruction scenarios, the impact of all this on the future of the Curry, the young squad, and even the competitive ceiling of the franchise. And stay with me until the end of this video, because at the end I will tie together all the behind-the-scenes details of this negotiation and show you whether this bomb exchange with the Mavericks is the first step of a historic turnaround, or the beginning of a collapse that no one is admitting in public yet. When we look at the Golden State Warriors season right now, it's clear that we can no longer pretend that everything is fine. Unlike franchises like the Oklahoma City Thunder, which still have time and margin to experiment, make mistakes, and grow calmly, the Warriors live in another reality. They carry a recent dynasty past, an expensive roster, and a veteran core that can't afford to waste years. Therefore, every trade window stops being just an opportunity and becomes almost an obligation. Either the team moves or it accepts that it is moving slowly towards irrelevance. The current scenario shows a team with an average campaign, around 50% success, struggling to remain competitive in an increasingly heavy Western Conference. And in this context, two weaknesses appear strongly: the defense in the box and the inconsistency in three-point shots, precisely a mark that defined the peak of the Curry era. What was once the big difference now seems in some games like a burden. When the perimeter attack doesn't fall and the defense can't hold back, the feeling is of a team trapped between the past and the future, without really knowing where it wants to go. This is where the discussion about the need for bolder movement in the squad comes in. It's not enough to adjust the rotation, move in minutes, or change small parts at the bottom of the bench. More and more, analysts and fans reach the same conclusion. A difficult decision needs to be made involving a heavy contract, an important name, someone who symbolizes both financial investment and sporting expectations. At this point, Buddy Hield's name appears at the center of the conversation. Hield, a veteran with a salary of around $37.7 million, has always been recognized for his ability to convert three-pointers in volume. For years, he held his own in the league as a perimeter offensive specialist, someone who could, on a good night, change the course of a game with a string of long shots. However, at this current stage, the reality is much less kind. The success percentage drops, confidence fluctuates, and suddenly, what was an asset begins to turn into a cause for concern. When a player earning this level of salary approaches the 30% mark on three-pointers, something is out of place. It's not just any bad phase. It's a point where the franchise needs to ask itself, are we paying for real production or for a memory of what it once was? With each subpar game, this question comes back with more force. And meanwhile, other players around the league, younger, more athletic, or more defensively versatile, appear as plausible alternatives. It is in this context that the hypothesis of a trade involving the Dallas Mavericks and winger Najee Marshall arises. Analysts such as Peter O'Keefe suggest that a negotiation of this type could be interesting for the Golden State. We are not talking about a shirt name, someone who will arrive and immediately assume star status. But in terms of fit, squad balance, and current needs, Marshall offers elements that the Warriors lack today: physique, defensive energy, versatility, and lower cost. Marshall is on a 3-year contract, worth around $27 million, with a salary very close to Child's. This makes it easier, in theory, to put together a trade in terms of salary cap math. At the same time, it opens up space for the Golden State to exchange a player who has been questioned for another who, even if he doesn't have the same history in the league, brings a set of attributes more in line with what the team needs at this moment. He's not an elite shooter. He has similar numbers to Hield from the three-point line, but he makes up for it in other ways, especially on defense. On the Mavericks side, the idea of adding a veteran pitcher alongside a star like Luka Doncic could make sense depending on how they view the roster balance. However, there is an important detail. Both Dallas and Golden State live on the edge of the league's financial structure, above the first apron, which means they cannot simply receive more salary than they send. For this trade to feasibly happen, a third team would likely need to enter the equation, adjusting contracts, absorbing some value, or adding draft picks, and this is precisely where the discussion gains more complex layers. The Golden State needs to decide how it will use the Buddy Hield contract. One possibility is to use him in a bigger package, involving Jonathan Kuminga and draft picks, to try to bring in a higher-level star, someone who will more radically change the team's level. The other is to accept that perhaps this big name will not be available in the short term, and instead work on intermediate targets, cheaper and with immediate potential, like Marshall. Meanwhile, behind the scenes of the rotation itself, competition increases. Seth Curry's arrival reignites the discussion about space in the perimeter rotation. If Seth delivers more consistent shooting, reading the game, and natural chemistry with the team's style, Hield's position will come under even more pressure. It's not just about who is the best player in theory, but who is at the moment helping the most on the court. In a squad that urgently needs efficiency, any drop in performance becomes amplified. For the fan, all of this translates into a feeling of constant urgency. It's not just a cold debate about numbers, contracts, and percentages. It's about seeing a team that was once the ultimate reference in modern basketball struggle to find its new identity. When you watch the games, you notice lapses of genius, moments in which the attack flows, in which the ball circulates, in which the defense organizes itself. But these moments are interspersed with sequences in which the team seems heavy, predictable, vulnerable. And these failures often go through precisely what should be a solution on the perimeter. In Marshall's case, the proposal is not to sell an illusion that he will be the franchise's savior, but to recognize that sometimes a squad improves not just with big stars, but with complementary players who fill specific gaps. He offers length of arms, defensive energy, the ability to mark multiple positions, and a profile that allows the coach to play more with different formations. In an increasingly versatile league, having wingers capable of defending and at the same time contributing minimally to the attack is a luxury that the Warriors today do not have in abundance. Furthermore, this possible exchange carries a symbolic message. When a franchise decides to give up an expensive contract and a player with a recognized name, it is, to a certain extent, assuming that the past cannot continue to dictate the present. It's a message for the locker room, the fans, and even the league. The Golden State is willing to make tough decisions to try to find its way back. This does not mean disrespecting anyone's history, but accepting that the sport is ruthless towards those who cling too much to what once was. From a tactical point of view, imagining Marshall in the Warriors is thinking about more physical formations, with more pressure capacity in the passing lines, with more presence in the defensive folds and in marking changes. Even if his three-pointer isn't spectacular, simply providing consistent defense can free up other players to focus more on their offensive duties. And at certain times, that is exactly what is needed. Someone who does the dirty work with discipline without needing to take the lead. On the other hand, maintaining Hield waiting for everything to return to ideal comes with its risks. If the drop in three-pointers continues, his market value will likely drop even further. It's one thing to change a player in bad form, but still seen as dangerous by opponents. It's another to try to negotiate someone who is already labeled as a problem. There is a window of opportunity that doesn't last forever, and franchises that understand the right time to act are generally and take a step forward. Of course, no decision this size is simple. Management needs to balance emotion and reason, loyalty and pragmatism. Fans cling to names, moments, memories of unforgettable nights. But the league waits for no one. While the Golden State thinks, other teams try to strengthen themselves, correct errors, expand advantages. Therefore, every hesitation has a cost. And right now, the cost of doing nothing may be as high as the risk of a bold switch. In the end, the debate about Buddy Hield and Najee Marshall goes far beyond two specific names. He exposes the central question that hangs over the Golden State Warriors. What kind of team does this franchise want to be in the coming years? A squad that insists on formulas that no longer work with the same strength as before, or a team that recognizes its weaknesses, adjusts its course, and accepts change, even if it means getting rid of important figures? If the answer is the second option, movements like this gain even more weight. Trading an expensive veteran in poor form for a more physical and versatile winger may not, at first glance, seem like a headline-grabbing coup. But, added to other decisions, it could be exactly the type of adjustment that puts the team back on the right path. Sometimes what seems like a simple parts swap is actually the beginning of a silent but profound rebuild. What is clear is that the Warriors can no longer rely solely on the memory of the dynasty. The game evolved, the opponents strengthened themselves, and the margin for error decreased. Whether with a trade involving the Mavericks, with a bigger package in search of a star, or with another creative market solution, the important thing is that the franchise understands that this is one of those moments when standing still is, in practice, going backwards. And if there is one thing that fans cannot accept, it is seeing a team with this potential get used to mediocrity. So, when you hear $37.7 million veteran and Maverick wing in the same sentence, don't just see numbers and speculation. See a clear picture of the turning point the Golden State is at. Each decision from now on can bring the team closer to a new competitive phase or push it further into a limbo in which it neither competes for a title nor truly rebuilds. And it is precisely this crossroads that makes this discussion so relevant, not only for analysts, but for any fan who still believes that this franchise does, indeed, have the capacity to reinvent itself. So, now that you understand the size of this crossroads, I'm going to be straight with you. Either the Golden State Warriors have the courage to face reality and move the right pieces, or this can be remembered as the season in which the franchise silently signed its definitive exit from the top. It's not an exaggeration. We are talking about a contract worth $37.7 million that could continue to weigh like an anchor or be transformed into the spark that reignites the team's competitiveness. The difference between a future of protagonism and a future of frustration may lie precisely in the decision made now. If you want to follow every step of this process, every rumor, every behind the scenes, every possible exchange that could change the franchise's destiny, don't stop here. Go straight to the Golden State Warriors News Today playlist, which is in the pinned comment. There I delve deeper into all these scenarios, update the news in real time, and connect the dots that many people ignore. Click on the playlist, binge the videos, stay up to date with everything that's happening behind the scenes, and come and follow, with me, whether this exchange bomb will mark the rebirth of the Warriors or the toughest chapter in this story.